3 abreast I tied them silently together, twining cords of willow from the ogre's bed, then slung a man under each middle one to ride there safely, shielded left and right, so 3 sheep could convey each man. I took the woolliest ram, the choicest of the flock, and hung myself under his kinky belly. So basically, they're going to ride the sheep out of the cave. And sheeps get ringlets for an iron grip. So breathing hard, we waited until morning. When dawn spread out her fingertips of rose, the rams began to stir, moving for pasture, and rams with udders full called for a milking. Blinded and sick with pain from his head wound, the master stroked each ram, then let it pass. But my men, riding on the pectoral fleece, the giant's blind hands, blundering, never found. Last of them all, my ram, the leader, came, weighted by wool and me with the meditations. The Cyclops patted him, and then he said, "Sweet cousin Ram, why lag you behind the rest in the night cave? You never linger so, but graze before them all, and go afar to crop sweet grass, and take your stately way, leading along the streams, until at evening you run to be the first one in the fold. Why now so far behind? Can you be grieving over your master's eye? That carrion rogue and his accursed companions burnt it out when he had conquered all my wits with wine. Nobody will get out alive, I swear. Or had you brain and voice to tell me where he may be now, dodging all my fury? Bashed by this hand and bashed on this rock wall, his brains would strew the floor. I should have rest from the outrage nobody worked upon me." So the Cyclops is talking, of course, to his ram, wondering where, quote, nobody could be. He's clearly very upset and wants to do Odysseus some harm. He sent us out into the open then, close by. I dropped and rolled clear of the ram's belly, going this way and that to untie the men. With many glances back, we rounded up his fat, stiff-legged sheep to take aboard, and drove them down to where the good ship lay. We saw as we came near our fellows' faces shining, then we saw them turn to grief, tallying those who had not fled from death. I hushed them, jerking head and eyebrows up, and in a low voice told them, "Load this herd, move fast, and put the ship's head toward the breakers." They all pitched in loading, then embarked and stuck their oars into the sea. Far out, as far offshore as shouted words would carry, I sent a few back to the adversary. So they all escape, except for those that were eaten, and steal the Cyclops' lambs and sheep and rams. "Oh, Cyclops, would you feast on my companions? Puny and I of a caveman's hands. How do you like the beating that we gave you, you damned cannibal? Eater of guests under your roof. Zeus and the gods have paid you." The blind thing in his double fury broke a hilltop in his hands and heaved it after us. Ahead of our black prow it struck and sank, whelmed in a spuming geyser, a giant wave that washed the ship's stern foremost back to shore. So he heaves a rock at them, which takes their ship back to the shore. I got the longest boat hook out and stood, fending us off with furious nods to all to put their backs into a racing stroke. Row, row, or perish! So the long oars bent, kicking the foam, sternward, making head until we drew away, and twice as far. Now when I cupped my hands I heard the crew in low voices protesting. "God's sake, Captain, why bait the beast again? Let him alone. That tidal wave he made on the first throw all but beached us." So his men are arguing with Odysseus to not bait the Cyclops more, because the previous rock that he threw beached them back to shore. "All but stove us in. Give him our bearing with your trumpeting, and get the rage and lob a boulder." "Aye, he'll smash our timbers and our heads together." I would not heed them in my glorying spirit, but let my anger flare, and yelled, So this is Odysseus' reply. Cyclops, if ever mortal man inquire how you were put to shame and blinded, tell him Odysseus, raider of cities, took your eye, Laertes' son, whose home's on Ithaca. At this he gave a mighty sob and rumbled, Now comes the weird upon me, spoken of old, a wizard grand and wondrous lived here, Telemus, the son of Eurymus, great length of days he had in wizardry among the Cyclops, and these things he foretold for time to come, my great eye lost and at Odysseus' hands. Always I had in mind some giant armed in giant force would come against me here, but you, small, pitiful, and twiggy, you put me back down with wine, you blinded me. So we see that there's already been some foretelling of what was going to happen to the Cyclops. And so then, what does he foreshadow? Praying the god of earthquake to befriend you, his son I am, for he by his avowal fathered me, and if he will, he may heal me of this black wound, he and no other of all the happy gods or mortal men. Few words I shouted in reply to him. If I could take your life, I would, and take your time away and hurl you down to hell. The god of earthquake could not heal you there. At this he stretched out his hands in his darkness toward the sky of stars and prayed Poseidon. O hear me, Lord, blue girdler of the islands. If I am thine indeed and thou art father, grant that Odysseus, raider of cities, never see his home, Laertes' son, I mean, who kept his hall in Ithaca, should destiny intend that he shall see his roof again among his family in his fatherland, far be that day, and dark the years between. Let him lose all companions and return under strange sail to bitter days at home. So here we have the foreshadowing.